Okay, here we are. Today I wanted to talk to you guys about some pretty basic upgrades you can do to your motor, you know what I'm saying, without spending any money or a little bit of money, you know what I'm saying, right? To get a little bit more power out of your little 48cc stock China motor, you know what I'm saying, right? I mean, yeah, we're all hot rodders at heart. We all want to go faster, you understand? But let me start off by saying this. This is just a little 48cc motor, 2.7 horsepower, stock out of the box, right? It's pretty adequate for what it does, you know what I'm saying? It's got a top speed of around 24, 25 miles an hour, you know what I'm saying? It'll rev up to 6 or 7, 8,000 RPM maybe, you know what I'm saying? Right? It puts out a little bit, you know, it's got a good, this one comes with the speed carburetor out of the kit, you know, sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. You know what I'm saying? It for what it is, it's a very powerful little motor by itself. It does what it does, you know what I'm saying? We all want to get more power out of ours. But, you know what I'm saying, there's a lot of guys nowadays that are buying these and they're getting them over here and then they're putting them in their little shop and they're reworking them, they're porting them, they're doing a bunch of other stuff to them, they're putting a balanced crank in, putting in better bearings, you know what I'm saying, better piston rod, you know what I'm saying, handle more power. They can get these little 48cc motors up to 6, 7, 8, 9 horsepower. They really can. You know what I'm saying? But the stock little ones like this, 2.7, that's all it is. You know what I'm saying? You want 4, 5, 6, 8 horsepower, spend $400-500. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure Fred or one of them dudes or Bike Berry or one of them dudes at Pirate Cycles or anybody, they'll hook you up with a super motor anytime you got the money. But if you don't got the money, there's a couple of things you can do right off. You know what I'm saying, with your hands, you know what I'm saying, a little bit of brains, a little bit of research, you know what I'm saying, to make your little bike outperform any other little stock bike. Right out of the box. The first thing you do is, I've already alluded to this in another video. I'll post a link for that video in the description for this one. But the first thing you can do is that you can check to see what your altitude level is and then set the main jet in your carburetor accordingly. Man, that's a pretty simple thing, you know what I'm saying? If it's metering right, if it's jetted right, the flow's right, you're getting better flow into your, right here, right? The high here, I give you this is how I figured it out. The lower you are, you know what I'm saying, right? The leaner, you want it to run lean anyway. You want the air and the fuel to mix together in a good ratio, right? And saying I got mine set on the first lean mixture, the second click from the top. You know what I'm saying? If you're higher up, I recommend you put it on the first click, go as lean as you can. The higher you are, the leaner you want it to be. Bingo. Set your carburetor jetting, you know what I'm saying, for your atmospheric conditions, and you're going to get way better performance right off the top by half. The next thing you're going to do is your intake runner here. Now, extending your intake runner, there's a couple of companies that make this intake runner that's offset, that goes over so you can put your carburetor to the side so you can run the jack shop thing. You know what I'm saying? Anytime that you can lengthen your intake runner, right, you're going to get more of a charge into the intake hole, right? You know what I'm saying? It started like 3 inches. You know what I'm saying? 3 inches is like, I don't know, 8, 9 centimeters for you English guys. You know what I'm saying? But I'd started like about 3 inches. You could do this with anything. You could do this with a 3/4, 1 inch, fuel hose, right? I would use like a piece of aluminum tubing or something, you know what I'm saying, that was the same diameter, it'd slip over the pipe and you could clamp in the end. Then start at 3 inches, run it out, you know what I'm saying? Figure out where it is, jet your carburetor, you know what I'm saying, experiment a little bit. The longer it is, the more of a charge you're going to get in, you know what I'm saying, the more, just 3 inches is going to increase your flow by 10% at least. Anywhere between 3 and 5.5, you know what I'm saying, right, 10 to 14 centimeters, right, you're going to increase your intake charge by 10 to 15% more. So, you know what I'm saying, that's the first thing you can do. And you probably got one of these parts laying around in your toolbox somewhere, up in the parts bin, you know what I'm saying, you can do this with. The next thing you want to do is, since you're putting more in, right, you want to get more out. You're obviously going to get more out, right? Now this is where you're going to end up spending a little bit of money here, right, by upgrading your exhaust, right? Now if you upgrade to an expansion chamber type exhaust, the more you're putting in, because these little motors work on the scavenging effect. It sucks it in and it pushes it out, you know what I'm saying? And as it pushes it out, it sucks it in, right? So as the gas expands, it sucks it out faster so it can suck it in faster because of the way the porting and all this does, because there's no valves in the head, right? Anytime that you can upgrade to an expansion chamber exhaust, and you can get, and here you can spend anywhere from $30 all the way up to $65 or $80 from them really cool, chrome expansion chamber ones, but even the little cheap $30 one from Bike Berry, the little banana pipe, right, or the $40 one from BikeBerry. Even those will increase the scavenging effect of the motor. You know what I'm saying? And look, you got more coming in. It's, you know, it's going out faster. So the next thing you want to do is you want to, you know, some guy. The question was, you know what I'm saying? As the guy that asked me on one of my videos asked me, you know, so what do I think about installing a high compression piston? Well, short of doing that, you know what I'm saying? What you want to do is, short of spending the money, $40, $50, $80, you know what I'm saying, for the high compression piston, that, you know, might give you a little bit. What you can do instead is you can take out your head gasket and you can take up that gap of space, you know what I'm saying, and you can close the compression chamber gap just a little bit more, and you get a little tiny bit more compression out of your stock motor without using head gasket. But the thing about that is that you got to make sure that the cylinder head, the combustion chamber cylinder head, and the barrel of the cylinder are flush, they fit flush together, right? You know what I'm saying? Otherwise it's going to leak and you're defeating the purpose of doing this. You know what I'm saying? So you want to use a flat straight edge, you know what I'm saying, to make sure that they're level. If they're not level, then you can use a little bit of emery paper, or if you have a really light touch, you can use one of these, you know what I'm saying, to make sure, to make sure that it's flat and it's level. Always use that straight edge, right? Now, so far, you know what I'm saying, the only thing we've done is spent $30, $40 for an expansion chamber, you know what I'm saying, and added a little piece of a pipe to our intake runner and took out our head gasket. The next thing you can do to increase the power, I mean, to take advantage of these little, you know, basic upgrades, is install a harder spark plug. I run a BS, or B, what is it? It's a B5HS, right? You can go down to a 4, but you take the head gasket out and you're getting in more fuel, you know what I'm saying? It's going to make a hard spark. It's going to make a better, you know, you're going to get a better explosion out of your compression, you know what I'm saying? Because we're squeezing it tighter, we're getting more, we got a hard spark plug, it's going to come out faster. Boom, you're going to increase, look at that. You went from probably, just by doing these little basic things, you went probably from like 2.7 to maybe 3 horsepower, maybe 2.9, just by doing this basic stuff. You understand? And oh yeah, I forgot. You know, get rid of the stock one and get one of those little baby K&Ns or one of those other ones from BikeBerry, the little speed air filter that allows. Because these little stock ones are okay, but that little piece of foam they give you for that thing, it's thin, it's cheesy, it's hard to replace, and it's hard to find something that has the density that allows enough air to flow through. You know what I'm saying? Just by digging around looking in the foam. Replace that. Understand? Now, so far, we're only up to like spending maybe $40 or $50, a little bit of time, a little bit of effort. Right? Here's a little tip inside of all of that. You want to make sure that your cylinder head bolts, right, or nuts, you know what I'm saying, are always tight. You know what I'm saying, because these, as it vibrates, you know what I'm saying, it's going to vibrate loose, it's going to back off, you're going to lose the connection here, and it's going to start leaking. It's going to make this funny popping sound. Right? Make sure your cylinder head bolts or nuts are always tight. Right? Alright, so now that's your basic, you know, what you can do to improve the overall performance of your stock 48cc, you know, Chinese motor by yourself without really throwing a whole bunch of time, you know, bunch of money at it. Now, there are some other upgrades that you can do if you have one of these, a Dremel, you know what I'm saying, and a set of these babies right here, metal cutting bits, right? Because now, and I'm sure there's millions of guys, there's lots of posts, lots of videos you can see, you know what I'm saying, about guys porting their cylinder, and saying, and doing a bunch of other stuff to get some better flow. You know what I'm saying? You can do this yourself, right? And there's probably lots of diagrams, you know what I'm saying, lots of pictures of the dimensions and the, you know, the sizes of them and what they should look like when you're done. You know what I'm saying? When you're porting, the most important part is to keep the deck heights, you know what I'm saying, flat, and the flange face is flat, you know what I'm saying, so that you get a tight fit and you get a smooth flow. Because when you port, because the porting involves the intake, the transfer ports that are inside the cylinder barrel, and the exhaust, right? You know what I'm saying, and polishing up the inside of the chamber a little bit. That's what's involved. You know what I'm saying? The important part is making sure that it all fits together right when you're done. All right. Otherwise, like I said before, you're defeating the purpose. Now, you can do this yourself, save yourself the money, but it involves some time and effort, you know what I'm saying, and a little bit of skill. You got to know what the heck you're doing, otherwise you're going to ruin the whole damn thing, and then you might as well just pay that $400 for that little speed motor anyway, right? But yes, you can do it. Or there's a lot of guys that'll do it for you for a couple of $100, you know what I'm saying, or you can buy an upgraded cylinder barrel, and, you know, with the high compression piston, and the upgraded, barrel bolts, and sand, and the upgraded nuts, and the copper, head gasket. Yeah. But see, now you're paying $80 for the piston. Now you're another $80 for the barrel. Now you're another, $79 for the cylinder head. You know what I'm saying? Now I see, you're already $300 into doing that when you could do it yourself. You know what I'm saying? And leave the stock piston, right? Because basically, remember, we already gained a little tiny bit of compression when we took the head gasket out. If you mill the cylinder head down another 1/2 millimeter on top, and you squeeze that even tighter, oh man, you're gonna bump up your compression ratio. You don't need the piston if you do all this other stuff, right? Hey, now, sure, like I started, we're all hot rodders at heart. We all want to go fast, dude. But you're not going to do 100 miles an hour on this. You're not even going to get close to 50 unless you change the gearing a little bit, which is what I've done. I mean, you want more speed out of your little stock motor, change the gearing. You'll gain 3 or 4 or 5 miles an hour just by doing that without even doing anything to the motor. But, you know what I'm saying? If you change the gearing in conjunction with some of these upgrades, these basic little, power upgrades that you can do yourself, right, then you're going to get more. Not only are you going to get more power out of the motor, and you're going to get a little more speed out of the whole device, you know what I'm saying? But you're going to get a little bit more reliability. You're going to get better gas mileage. It's going to be more bulletproof. It's going to be more dependable. You know what I'm saying? I use my speeder bike for daily transportation. It takes me all over this city, and this city is huge, 315 square miles. You know what I'm saying? A couple of tanks of gas, and I can cover all of it in a few days. Well, that's what I use this for. You know what I'm saying? I'm not taking mine apart anytime soon. When the little piston burns a hole in it or something, or the crank bearings fail or something, then I'll take it apart. And then I'll probably do all of those things then, what I'm telling you guys about now. You know what I'm saying? But for the meantime, if you got one of these little stock bikes, the best thing you can do is lengthen your intake run a little bit, put the expansion pipe on, get yourself a harder plug. You know what I'm saying? And rejet your main carburetor jet, you know what I'm saying, for your altitude, you're going to increase your power by a significant little bit amount, right? And you're going to get better overall performance instead of throwing all of that stuff, instead of throwing, a couple of months worth of saved up money at it, you know what I'm saying? Hey, if you really want to do that, go ahead and do it. But you know what? If you do the basic stuff first, and then over time you add to it, you're going to end up with a 6 or 7, 8 horsepower little motor on a good little frame, on a good little speeder bike that's going to haul the mail, my friend. So anyways, I just my thoughts. All right. So if you're going to spend the $80 for the high compression piston, you're not going to get anything with just the piston. Right, and saying overall, you know what I'm saying, yeah, you'll gain a little bit in the short term, but in the long run, you know what I'm saying, that high compression piston by itself is going to wear out everything that you got, and then you're going to end up throwing money at it anyway. Do the basic upgrades first, right, and then do some serious consideration about the porting. At the very least, you know what I'm saying, mill the head down, right, because or throw $80 at one of Fred Comiskey's high performance cylinder head things. Those things are worth the money. They are, you know what I'm saying, but. You know what I'm saying? Hey. Thank you.